Your immune system is one of the most astonishing things about you. It learns the shape of every enemy it has ever fought. It remembers them for decades. It coordinates millions of cells across your entire body in seconds. It is, without exaggeration, a walking miracle. But it has a flaw, a terrifying built-in flaw that affects hundreds of millions of people. Sometimes, your immune system cannot tell where you end and the enemy begins. Imagine a security system so sophisticated it can identify a single intruder in a crowd of billions. Now imagine that same system one day decides that your own front door looks suspicious, then your kitchen, then your heart. It does not stop. It cannot be reasoned with, because from its perspective, it is doing its job perfectly. It is protecting you, and it is wrong. To understand how this happens, you first need to understand the one rule that keeps your immune system from destroying you every single day. It is called self-tolerance. Before any immune cell is allowed into your bloodstream, it must pass a test. Deep inside your thymus, a small organ tucked behind your breastbone, every young T-cell is presented with a gallery of your own body's proteins. The cells that attack these proteins are destroyed on the spot. The cells that ignore them are allowed to live. It is a brutal training camp. Over 90% of candidates do not survive. The ones that graduate know exactly one thing: do not attack self. But sometimes a cell slips through. Maybe the thymus never showed it a particular protein from your pancreas. Maybe a harmless infection confused the system. Because a fragment of bacteria happened to look almost exactly like a fragment of your own thyroid. Your immune system chases the infection, wins, and then turns around and sees the same shape on your own cells. And it does what it was trained to do. It attacks. This is how an autoimmune disease begins. Not as betrayal, not as self-destruction, but as a case of mistaken identity at a scale too small to see. Type 1 diabetes. Inside your pancreas, tiny clusters of cells called beta cells produce insulin, the hormone that lets your body use sugar for energy. One day, your immune system decides these beta cells are the enemy. T cells invade the pancreas. They kill the beta cells one by one. Over months or years, insulin production drops to nothing. Without insulin, sugar builds up in the blood like traffic with nowhere to go. The body starves in the presence of plenty. A child with type 1 diabetes will take thousands of insulin injections over a lifetime, all because their immune system attacked the wrong target. Rheumatoid arthritis. Your joints are wrapped in a thin membrane that keeps them gliding smoothly. In rheumatoid arthritis, immune cells flood into this membrane and treat it like a battlefield. They release chemicals that inflame, erode, and eventually destroy cartilage and bone. Fingers curl, wrists stiffen, walking becomes pain. The attack is symmetrical. If one knee swells, the other often follows. Multiple sclerosis. Your nervous system is wired with a substance called myelin, a fatty insulation that wraps around your nerves like plastic coating around electrical cables. In multiple sclerosis, immune cells cross into the brain and spinal cord and begin stripping this insulation away. Signals that should travel in milliseconds now stutter, slow down, or stop entirely. One day your leg feels numb. Another day your vision blurs. The damage is scattered, unpredictable, like a map of tiny blackouts across your nervous system. The body's own electric grid is being dismantled by its own security forces. Lupus. This one is systemic. It can attack almost anything: skin, joints, kidneys, brain, heart, blood cells. In lupus, the immune system produces antibodies against the very material inside your own cell nuclei. It is treating your DNA as foreign. A characteristic butterfly-shaped rash can spread across the face. Organs become inflamed for reasons that are still not fully understood. Lupus is a shapeshifter, and for decades it was one of the hardest diseases to diagnose because it can look like almost anything else. There are over 80 known autoimmune diseases. Crohn's disease attacks the digestive tract. Psoriasis turns skin cells over so fast they pile up into red scaly patches. Hashimoto's thyroiditis slowly destroys the thyroid gland. Each one is different, but they all share the same origin. A system designed to protect you has aimed its weapons inward. So why does this happen? And why does it seem to be happening more? Genetics loads the gun. If a close relative has an autoimmune disease, your risk goes up. But genes alone are not the full story. Something has to pull the trigger. Infections can do it. A strep throat that leads to rheumatic fever. A virus that looks just a little too much like your own cells. And there is a strange pattern. Autoimmune diseases are more common in wealthy, industrialized countries. One theory, called the hygiene hypothesis, suggests that when children grow up in extremely clean environments, their immune systems do not get enough practice fighting real threats. So they become jumpy, overreactive, more likely to mistake self for enemy. Women are disproportionately affected. Nearly 80% of autoimmune patients are female. The reasons are still being studied, but hormones, pregnancy, and differences in immune system genetics all seem to play a role. For decades, the answer was blunt. Immunosuppressants, drugs that turn down the volume on the entire immune system. They work, but at a cost. When you suppress the immune system, you suppress everything. The cells attacking your joints are quieted, but so are the cells that would fight a real infection. But something remarkable is happening. Scientists are learning to retrain the immune system instead of just silencing it. A new class of drugs called biologics targets specific messengers in the immune cascade. Instead of shutting down the whole army, they intercept the specific signal that says attack the joints or attack the skin. Even more ambitious. Researchers are working on actually restoring tolerance, teaching the immune system to reaccept the cells it mistakenly learned to attack. Early trials for type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and other conditions are attempting to reintroduce the target proteins in a way that tells the immune system, this is safe, this belongs here. And there is another quiet revolution happening. The gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living inside your digestive system, turns out to have a profound influence on immune regulation. Certain gut bacteria produce signals that calm the immune system. When those bacteria are missing, the risk of autoimmune disease rises. Here is the strange thing about autoimmune disease. The same system that can destroy your pancreas or inflame your joints is also the system that fought off the last virus you never even noticed. It is not broken in the way a machine is broken. It is misdirected, over-enthusiastic. Confused about the most fundamental question any defense system must answer, who is on our side? Your body is not at war with itself out of malice. It is at war with itself because the line between self and other is thinner than anyone imagined. A single protein fragment. A single missed lesson in the thymus. A single infection that looked a little too familiar. That is all it takes. But here is what gives hope. If the immune system can learn to attack the wrong target, it might also be able to unlearn